Welcome back to the Fewell Homestead. Man, we have a lot of stuff going on here for the past week. As you might remember, the weather is crazy here in Virginia right now. We had some days with snow. Thankfully it didn't stick last week, but some days it just snowed all day long. Thankfully it did not stick to the ground. The weather has been crazy, and you know, as a gardener and as a homesteader, once the weather breaks, you take advantage of it. So the weather had broken a few days last week, and so I took advantage of placing some of my seed trays outside and getting some good sunlight for them. And they are thriving and doing really well. As you might remember, I had said that some of my seeds have been getting a little bit leggy, especially the tomato plants. And I don't like throwing out seeds that I've been growing, and so I fix them when I can, when they're not too far gone. The best way to fix your leggy seedlings is to actually push the seedling down further into the pot and then bring some extra soil around so that you're covering up that extra stem that you don't need. What happens is your stem begins to grow a root system, therefore going further into your soil and creating a more organic root system. And so don't throw those leggy plants out. When you've pushed that plant in and you hover the soil around it, you have a shorter plant, obviously a more desirable looking plant in your greenhouse, but you're also helping that plant thrive more and creating a deeper, better root system for them. So as you also may remember, in the last video we planted a lot of grass seed and pasture grass in our backyard area. Now the reality of homesteading is that our chickens didn't get out all week long until the end of the week, and of course they ate half of our pasture grass that we planted. They took advantage of the really nice spring days as well, right? But everything's fine. We were able to rake up some of the grass and disperse it as needed. We didn't need to reseed anything. The grass is starting to come up really well. We've gotten a few good rains and the soil is great. The soil is nice and moist, and so the grass should be popping up really soon. I also took advantage of the break in weather and decided to plant a few different types of cold hardy seeds outside. And so I started with a bare patch in just right outside my garden area where we normally have flowers. And since there was no flowers there this year, I decided to plant a large or a medium-sized batch of mustard spinach. Now, I love mustard spinach. It is literally a really good combination between a mustard green and a spinach, and it tastes really quite like both of them at the same time. And so it's one of my new favorite dark green leafy vegetables. I also finally got my potatoes in the ground. I am a month late on my potatoes, and it was irking me like nobody's business. Now that we have the expanded garden, we haven't quite finished yet, but most of it has been expanded. We planted the potatoes, got them into the ground, covered them with a big thick batch of straw, and we watered it down, set it in place, and the potatoes should be growing really well soon. We won't harvest those to the end of summer or in the early fall, but we are really encouraged by being able to plant potatoes in the ground this year, because in years past I've had to grow them in containers, but this year we have enough space to plant them actually in a row in the garden. Each year I always have a little project. This year my project is watermelon and sunflowers. Now last year I tried to grow sunflowers and my dog ate all of them before they even got a chance to grow. So I planted a few sunflowers in the top portion of our garden just to see how they're going to do up there. And then I have a very bare raw patch in the backyard that my husband has forbid me to grow anything in. But I took the chance and I planted 2 watermelon seeds back there. I don't know how well they're due. I don't have high hopes for them, to be quite honest with you, but I wanted to see if they would grow, and if they do, I'm gonna be really excited. I took the time to plant some other seeds. We have a portion over on our backyard that it gets sun, but we really can't plant vegetables there. And so I planted a lot of wildflower seeds over there in hopes that they would really grow well and hold in that soil, and it'll be a great way to grow some medicinal wild herbs for the chickens and other livestock. I took advantage of some of the more rainy days and decided to plant my elderberry cuttings that a friend and follower sent me several weeks ago. She sent me elderberry cuttings from her own plants, and I was really excited to get them in the mail. For the last few months, they've been sitting in a mason jar with water, establishing a root system, and so it was time to finally plant them. I got out my 4-inch pots, packed in my potting soil, placed the elderberry cuttings in the pot, and then covered them back up really well. They did really well, planted really easily, and then I just gave them a really, really good watering in the sink and placed it on the drain board to drain really well. And they are thriving, they are doing really good. So once the weather finally breaks for good, they will go outside in a spot on the property. My problem now is I just have to figure out where to put them. One night last week I had some leftover apples and I wanted to make a small batch of applesauce. So I took this time to go ahead and make a new batch of apple cider vinegar. We're getting low and I haven't made any in quite a long time. So I decided instead of buying it, I would go ahead and make it again. Apple cider vinegar is so easy to make. If people knew how easy it was to make, everyone would be making it. So since I had to peel and core my apples, you save the peels and cores and place them in a mason jar. I chose to do a 1/2 gallon mason jar this time because I needed a large batch. So I filled up my 1/2 gallon mason jar with my cores and peels from my apples that I had been making applesauce with. After you have your jar filled to whatever point you want to fill it, I filled it up all the way. You take 3 to 4 tablespoons of raw organic evaporated cane juice or sugar. I choose the cane juice just because it's better for you. And you dissolve it in some warm water. Once it's dissolved, you pour that water into your jar and then fill the jar all the way up with water to the top. Make sure you put a weight on top of your apple cider vinegar so that none of the apples rise to the top and create any mold or issues like that for you. You can get those weights and the mason top jars from Amazon. I'll link them below in the video description. That way you can find them. Cap your mason jar with your mason top or whatever fermentation type top that you want to cap it with. Place it in a dark area like a cabinet or your pantry for 3 weeks, and after 3 weeks you will have created your very own organic apple cider vinegar. Now I like to place mine in my pantry so that I kind of forget about it and stop poking around at it, and it'll stay in there for 3 weeks, and if there's any smell that comes with it, I won't be smelling it in the kitchen. So we're considering expanding the garden in the front. There's another portion of the front yard that we don't really use. It's having a tough time growing grass because it's been trampled down and walked on so much over the past few years. We've had so many projects that we've had to do on this property that our yard has literally suffered so much from it. But now that the property is basically starting to come together outside, we have this space on the other side of the front yard that we are at a crossroad. Do we plant grass seed in it and just leave it as open lawn space? Or do we grow a garden there? It would be basically the same size as our current garden, actually a little bit smaller. It would be the same size as our kitchen garden from last year, but we're kind of at a crossroads. So maybe over the next couple weeks you might see us decide, are we gonna make the garden space bigger on the other side of the walkway? Or are we just gonna leave it and plant some more grass? So that's it from me this week. I hope you guys are having a great week. I know that some of you are still under snow, and I'm so sorry for you. I sympathize with you. I'm so sorry. I hope you guys are enjoying your spring, whatever type of spring that you're having, and I hope you're getting lots of vegetables and herbs into the ground and really enjoying and embracing this season of life. Hope you have a great week. Happy homesteading.